Hey guys,
Hi.
It's the Vixens at the historical Scotts County Jail. There's a sign right above us. This is Miss Miranda. She's going to take us on a little tour, give us kind of like a brief summary of the history and the hot spots in the jail that we're here today with her. This is Ellis. And do you want to give us a brief on why Ellis is named Ellis?
So Ellis is named Ellis, and after one of our resident spirits here, Sheriff Richard Ellis, who was killed right here in front of the front door. He was bringing in a moonshiner back in August of 1925, and he was shot ambush style from behind. And of course, he's one of the inmates, or excuse me, he's one of the spirits here that we get a lot of activity from. His name was Sheriff Richard Ellis, or R.D. Ellis. And so teams have gotten some great EVPs that have said Sheriff Richard murdered, and also one of our shadow figures that we see, we do believe is potentially Richard Ellis, and I'll show you where we capture that a lot.
Very exciting, and just a brief view of the area. The outside building. And this is the foundation that started in 1904 up to 2008. All right.
So we're going to go on in here. Let's take out sound.
This is the front door.
So this is our main museum room, and this was also the jailer's quarters. So from 1904 until 1971, the jailers and their families all lived on site on the bottom level here of the jail. So all these rooms that we're kind of showing and talking about, each of these had different uses with each sheriff and jailer that came into office. This timeline is going to be a good resource for you guys. Everything that's in the brown are all of our sheriffs, and the year they went into office. Anything in the teal color is a significant event with Scott County or with the jail. The blue, those are all of our local fallen officers, and we've had 14 of those in total. And then the red on there, those are inmates that we know were either lynched or executed by the state. And those are the only ones that we have record of, so we know that there's more, but those are the ones that we've actually got newspapers and records.
Looks like this is Mr. Richard Ellis right here that was killed on the front doorstep.
It is. And so, and then right beside it, so he went into office in 1920, and then in 1925 was when he was killed in the front door.
And the ones that you said were in red.
Yes.
Were they executed here on the property?
Yeah, so this downstairs area, we get a lot of activity because we have something around here called Mob Mountain Justice. So being that we're a county jail, we don't have executions here. Those folks are sent on to either Brushy Mountain, Morgan County, Nashville State Prison. But these folks, in particular, Jerome Boyd and Harvey Winchester, that was our last known lynching that took place from here. Basically, they had both committed a crime, and justice didn't move swift enough. So basically, people from the community masked up and then came and overtook the jail. There was about 25 of them in the mob. Busted in, beat up the jailer, took them out, and took them to different areas.
And then with all these, because they say lynch?
Yes. Yeah. Those would have been specifically the ones. The only one that was executed by the state was Ben Fowler, and he was actually a deputy here. And he killed a local doctor and one of the other deputies when he was serving a warrant at the local school where they were showing a movie. And so he was here for a few days, and then he was sent to Nashville and electrocuted.
Do you want to tell us about this right here?
Yeah, so what's kind of interesting here in East Tennessee, we were very poor, and there weren't really any slaves and stuff here in this area. There were a few, but not too many. So basically, whenever Tennessee seceded from the Union and ended up fighting for the Confederacy, over here in East Tennessee, we really didn't want to be involved. And so Scott County said, forget that, we're going to actually secede from the state. So we actually formed our own state. We're one of 3 counties in the United States known as an enclave county that formed their own state. So we were the free and independent state of Scott.
Wow.
It really upset Nashville. So Nashville sent a bunch of troops over.
Naturally.
So there were a couple minor skirmishes that were fought here in this area, the Battle of Brimstone and the Battle of Huntsville Mountain. So it wasn't supposed to last very long, but they actually did not welcome us back into the state until 1986. So, yeah.
Were you guys then, was it free and independent, or just part of?
They never really recognized it. Yeah, but there are 3. The other counties that did this were down in Alabama, around the Huntsville area.
Another Huntsville.
Another Huntsville, yep. So it's kind of interesting because back during the World Wars, the story goes that we actually declared war on Germany. So we do think that some activity. There wasn't any deaths that we know of that came from the skirmishes here, but there was a lot of brother fighting brother, a lot of turmoil, a lot of homes were upset. Union camps and Confederate camps did camp nearby. So it was a lot of activity with the war at that time. So.
And we did notice that around the property there are like some cemeteries and stuff.
A lot of cemeteries,
It's kind of it seemed like it was surrounded by 3 different.
Yeah.
The oldest one here is over on that hillside over there. It's a little harder to see, but there are technically 3 cemeteries. Huntsville Cemetery, the one that's with the old Huntsville Baptist Church over there, and then the Huntsville Presbyterian Church. Senator Howard Baker, who was senator for quite some time, and also he was Reagan's chief of staff. He's from here, and so he's buried in the cemetery right over there.
Wow.
So a lot of history. Jesse James came to Huntsville. He actually ran a feed and seed store just right in the middle of town. He was here for 8 months and went under the name David Moore while he was here.
It's interesting you say that because supposedly I'm related to
Okay.
Jesse James.
You're related to him?
Yeah, that's what my family said on my mom's side of the family, that I'm related to Jesse James.
Nice. Well, you know, this room here, this would have been where the family slept. This would have also been, after the jailer and his family moved out, this would have been a women's cell, also dispatch, and an office at one time. So you get a lot of different activity in these areas depending on the era of when you're, of what spirit you're.
Introducing Sally real quick. This is the Scotts County Jail kitty cat that lives here. Do you want to tell us the story about what happened with Sally the other night?
Yeah, so if you check out our Facebook page on Historic Scott County Jail, I'll actually show you the room right here. So Sally lives here at the jail, and at night we close the gift shop off. And so if you look, the door is made to close. It's not one that will stay open.
And it's a steel door.
And it's a heavy door. So
all the doors here.
I'm not really sure how a small cat like that. Plus, there's no seam that she could like pull to open the door. So we had the door closed, and about 5 o'clock,
She's like,
we're trying to open it, Sally. I don't know how she could open it. One morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, well, actually, when I came in that day to open the museum, she didn't greet me at the door. She was inside of the gift shop. So I couldn't figure out how she'd gotten in there, so we checked our security footage, because I thought maybe I had left the door open and then it closed in the night, or she followed me in when I was here the day before. But anyway, she had been out, and so at 5 o'clock in the morning, at 5 in the morning, she ended up, the door ended up opening 3 times, and the 3rd time, it opened up enough for her to actually be set in the gift shop. She kind of gets pushed in, and when she goes in, she turns. So you can see the video there on either our YouTube page or on the Facebook
Awesome.
page. So,
Yeah.
This room, we get a lot of activity in this room. This is where I'll be tonight. But it's the gift shop. This was actually the original kitchen. And so we get a lot of disembodied voices in here. Porcelli was put in here. We do get, we have weird things happen when we come in sometimes in the mornings. But this used to be the former kitchen. It was also an interrogation room, and it was also a medical room at one time. And then for one short period of time, it was also a cell. So, show you something neat with the keys. We grab those here. So these are the original keys. We never went to a electronic locking and unlocking system, so we still have to use these today. But something that's kind of interesting is the top of the keys have these different notches in them. Those actually correspond. Every cell has a notching system.
Oh, wow.
And so on the back of the doors there, they've got a notching system right here.
Wow.
And so this way the jailer could wear the keys on his belt and feel the number, and if he had his inmate, he wouldn't have to take his eye off the inmate. So anything on the lower numbers are higher number notches. Upstairs, the maximum security are lower number.
Wow.
So I'll leave those there. Another piece of activity that's kind of a hot spot is one of our former drunk tanks. This is also our current bathroom. But we have caught shadow figures here,
And this one right here, or
this one. This one. Yeah, so this was solitary confinement as well as the drunk tank, and they were both originally painted drunk tank pink. So,
Like that one.
yeah, we've been restoring that one back to what it originally was like, and now people think that was maybe the women's restroom. So we're going to also restore this one back to that pink color. But we have this room set up as our law enforcement appreciation room.
awesome.
So once we get a little bit later out, if you want to see the picture of the shadow figure, but Sheriff Richard Ellis, that is him up there at the top, and he was a very tall individual. He was between 6'7" and 6'8".
Wow.
And so one of the shadow figures that we do capture here is a 7-foot shadow figure. Yeah. Sally likes to follow it. So the second floor level here, originally when the jail was built, it was only 2 stories. And so in 1922, there was a fire. And so rather than just fixing this, they fixed this and they added the 3rd floor. So they then converted these cells into more dorm-style trustee cells. That room became the kitchen in the 1970s. And these inmates up here, these were the trustees. So these were the ones who were the more trusted inmates. They were the ones who maintained the jail. In the beginning, the sheriff's wife was the cook up until the 70s, and then after the 70s, that's when the inmates took over and started cooking.
How many inmates were held here?
So when it was only 2 stories, it had a capacity of 30 inmates to one jailer, and then after they added the 3rd floor, it was 50 to one jailer. But a lot of places, a lot of county jails have overcrowding issues. So it was not uncommon to have close to 100 inmates in here at times. Anywhere that they could close the door, put a cot down, they would do that, and they would bring them in.
And this is one of those dorm-style rooms you were talking about?
What was that?
This is one of those dorm-style rooms you were talking about?
Yeah. These rooms held anywhere from 6 to 8 inmates in each of the rooms.
And they were originally this size?
Yes, they did have a few more of the bunk beds in here. Typically, it was around 6, but we have heard stories that in overcrowding times, there could be 10 inmates. Wow. Yeah. So these inmates on these floors got a little more freedom because they were trusted. The typical sentence here was 2 months to 24 months. Unless, you had committed a federal or state crime, then you'd be sent on to Brushy Mountain or one of the other prisons. This floor runs the gamut of activity. Shadow figures, disembodied voices. Mm-hmm. This is the floor where RKB Paranormal caught the shadow figure ripping the picture off the wall.
Oh, wow.
On camera.
What picture? Is it up here now?
So it's in that room, but it was originally hanging right here. We're working on a larger exhibit in that room. But it was a resignation letter of one of our sheriffs, and it was hanging on this wall right here in this same spot. They were in the kitchen. They got their tools started going off, and they heard a woman say help. So they came out here into the hall with their camera, and when they stepped out, not this picture, but the picture that was here literally comes off, and then you see a shadow arm come out. It pulls the picture, it flips it, and it throws it 4.5 feet.
Wow.
Across the room. Yeah. So I can show you all that video when we're done here, but it was a resignation letter of one of our sheriffs.
Interesting.
So we get that, get a lot of activity in the kitchen. And then of course up here on maximum security.
Oh, wow.
So of course this area was added in 1922. This was the women's cell for the most part. This was also one of the cells where they would segregate more of the violent sex offenders later on basically for their protection. Because jail is not a friendly place for them.
For sure.
But this room is very active. Music is something that is a great trigger item in this room. They seem to like the old hymns in this room. If anybody sings, they like that, but you can, if you play music, Amazing Grace, that works well. Any kind of old country, classic rock, seems to work really good in here. So,
interesting.
Also, cigarettes and moon pies is something like that. So anything sweet, and of course cigarettes.
Oh, I love a good moon pie.
Yeah.
They might have. There's a few.
And so if you want to go on straight back, this floor has been very, very active the last little bit. This is one of the stories of one of the lynchings. We're working on getting all of the stories of our inmates who were taken out of here and lynched on the property. So we're working on their stories, but basically, if you want to go kind of back into that cell on the right there, yeah.
Such a small door.
Yeah. This would have been your typical bullpen. We've got 3 of these cell blocks. The inmate would eat on the table there. They would have the opportunity to shower. The panel there on the wall was where the phones were. And of course, they would be in their cell 22 to 23 hours a day.
Wow.
This area right here,
They're going to ask if there's something with the cells.
Yep, this area right here, we've got the cells unlocked, so you guys are welcome to investigate in there. But this cell block tends to like it when females are here, so they're gonna really like your team. But especially
That helped it, like, came right here, and I was like, okay.
yeah. I'll be interested to hear some of the things you feel and pick up.
Oh, you're a great woman.
There you go. So we get some of the most incredible footsteps up here, and you just basically come up and sit, if you kind of notice around like the top of the hour, like around 9, 10, 11 o'clock, sometimes around midnight, sometimes around 2.
My head got hot sitting under there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was really strange. I felt like, you know how when you get feverish and you can feel your face warming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like they'll go for about anywhere from like 7 to 12 to 15 footsteps, and they don't stop. And when you acknowledge them, it's creepy because it's very residual, a lot of it. And so because of the time, we think it may be a jailer coming over, but just kind of notice if you hear it, notice the time. We were doing a flashlight tour last week, and we were back in here talking. It was like 10 o'clock on the nose, and something charges up. They sound like heavy, like combat boots with a rubber sole.
And who wore those?
The jailer.
Okay.
Every now and then you'll hear a shuffle, almost like shower shoes.
Okay.
And so that would be more of an inmate. But we'll hear them sometimes along this jailer's walk out here. Other times we hear it on that cell. But this floor is incredible for knocks and bangs because the doors will open and close on their own. You'll hear those bangs sometimes. That would have been ADSEG or administrative segregation, which would have been
I'm locked up.
so the activity shift.
What was it?
I asked if somebody did people get their hair pulled.
Yeah.
Here, and she said over there.
Did you feel something?
I didn't get mine, but
Yeah.
Interesting.
People get touched, get their hair pulled, especially women.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine
I feel like that's been the experience.
in a jail with primarily men, you know?
Yeah, and it was both. They did have both men and women, but for the most part, it was men.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the walk that goes around, that is the jailer's walk. But we have, like I said, 3 of these cell blocks. And so the activity just kind of shifts. For a while, the 3rd floor will be the most active. And then for a while, it'll shift to the 2nd. But I definitely recommend you all split up into smaller groups. That's going to work really well for you.
Yeah, makes sense to do that.
Hello, Dustin.
Did they ever get
We are investigating the Scotts County Jail right now. Right here you can see some jail cells. I'm going down the officer's walk right now.
Yeah, one side is where the family would be, and the other side would be where the inmate would be. So. And of course, once we do the main tour, I'll show you where the heating and cooling stuff is. There's that one. And you'll be welcome to turn it off if you want, because you can hear how the sound is. The stairs are very active. It would sound like somebody running up the stairs. Yep. Yeah. And it's interesting because when the jail was in operation, it was active when it was in operation. And so there were times that they would think inmates had escaped because they would hear such loud sounds on the stairs. And so they would call them and say they came and we would find out. And everyone would be in their cells. And of course, this is the door that goes out to the outside rec yard. So you all are welcome to investigate out there.
Is this door open?
It is. I've got it unlocked. It's just you have to push it. Yeah.
So that's where they would have like a free outside.
And that's the only place that, that's the only place where we've actually had escaped from. Nobody's ever escaped from the inside.
It's pretty dark out here. Can't see much, but
Oh man, it does look like a whole lot of prison.
neat place is definitely a word for it, Dustin.
Yeah, and if you don't mind